in the time we have remaining, I was hoping, you mentioned it being your superpower is doing this test
Mm-hmm.
taking. So I was hoping we could give the viewers some tips and tricks, because you say it's a superpower, but I think it's something that you have honed, and
Yeah.
some skills you've practices you've mastered or learned over the course of your years of doing this. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk a little bit of some tips and tricks, some things that people could, when it comes to exam taking.
Yeah.
I think personally I get a bit of an anxiety when it comes to
Yep.
exam taking.
Yeah. And so the for me, I take exams first thing in the morning. I don't give myself time. So this is just my collection. So please take them with a grain of salt. Everybody has their own way of approaching things. But my first thing for me is I take exams first thing in the morning. I don't want to let anxiety build up. I don't want to let me have to be distracted through the course of the day. And then, I mean, our exam center that we go to is about 4 miles down the road this way. I don't like to be running last minute because, oh crap, I forgot a meeting, or oh darn it, I forgot a meeting this day or this time, and I'm now running to it. I do it first thing in the morning. I do it if they open at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking my exam at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have slept well the night before, and these are all things that you learn when you're like in sixth grade and you're going to take exams and taking certification exams. I still hold true to them. I get a good night's sleep. I wait. I mentioned I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually in bed at 11 o'clock at night. I don't deviate from my plan. I don't sit and cram until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. When I get in the exam, the first thing I do is I always check with the proctor. The proctor for me is going to answer some questions that I ask every time. It's just a routine that I have. First things first, can I get up if I have to use the restroom? Now the next one that we're starting to run to is, can I pull my mask down, or does my mask have to be on the whole time while I'm taking these exams? Um, some exams require you to take off your glasses, and I don't have contacts. So now I have to make sure, is it okay if I keep my glasses on? And most of the time the answer is yes. Sometimes they're like, can I see them? And so I have to show them that the glasses don't have writing on the inside here. Silly little things like that. When I sit down and start looking at the questions, I don't double check myself. I don't double guess myself. I look at the question, I read the question, find out what it's really asking. AWS is, again, very famous for this, and they do a great job of it. They'll give you so much information, and they'll get a paragraph or two or three paragraphs even, but they're really asking for one question. They're asking, does this meet the solution? Well, now I need to go and look at, where does this meet the requirements, the technical requirements? Well, and now I need to see what the technical requirements are. Read the technical requirements. I don't read all of the mess. I read the question, because it says, does this meet the technical requirements? Okay, I'm looking for technical requirements. Technical requirements are 1, 2, 3. Okay, so these are the requirements. I write them down. Write them down. Don't get messed up looking at the screen and try and track what's going on. Write the technical requirements down. Those are the things that you have to meet. And once you've gotten those written down, then look at the technology or the proposal that they're doing. When I look at it, it immediately becomes clear. Well, if I do that, requirement 1 is impossible. Okay, so that's not a solution. And really quick, I start to see, these are the things that I need to get done. I tell people I don't find the right answer so much as I eliminate the wrong answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way that I personally take exams. I don't necessarily know the right answer. When I sit down and when I select an answer, I don't know that it's necessarily the right answer, but I know it's not a wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is as valuable to me to understand when I sit down and take an exam. If there's something where I look at and there's one of two things, maybe there's 6 options and I have to select 2, and it's either this one or this one or this one, I'll mark it and I'll go all the way through the exam, and then I come back. I will select the right answers, or what I think are the right answers, but I'll mark it and then I'll come back to it. I don't go back That's another personal thing I do. I don't go back. I sit down, I take an exam, I understand everything, and I know what isn't the right answer. So I eliminate those and I select the right answers. If I have any question on it, I mark it. I get to the very end, then I review my marked ones. I don't look at anything else. Because I'm going to double guess or second guess or double guess myself, and I'm going to start to change that I knew were the right answer before, and everything is governed by time. So if I don't want to get in the middle of that and be out of time and be 3/4 away through everything, trust your instincts. If you're taking the exam and you know what you're doing, you're going to look through it and find that if you take those paths, it's a little bit easier. Now, I will tell everyone, any of the cloud providers that are out there provide sample exams. And in fact, in the Microsoft world, there's not just sample exams from the vendor, but there's sample exams from, and in AWS as well, there's sample exams from third parties. I use the sample exams from the vendors. They're the ones who ask the questions. They're the ones who've written the questions. They're the ones that I use as the bellwether. If I can go through one sample exam and get 50% right, that's kind of if I cross over that 50% window, then I'm ready to schedule. That's really kind of the way that I approach it. I am a big fan, not at Stratum, but a company I worked at before. We had a collection of people that were studying for the AWS Pro Architect exam together. And we wrote questions based off of what we knew to be on the exam for the person to the right. And then once a week or once every other week, you took an exam from someone else who'd written questions. So you were ready for a series of questions that might not make sense and weren't in your scope. It was like, okay, we're going to run, if there's a group of 10 people around a conference table, you took your exam questions and handed them to the person to the right or to the person to the left. And you took that exam. It was circle more than anything else, circle of multiple choice. But you took that exam, and that was a really nice way of being able to sit down and write 20 questions, because that's what the number that we did. You had to sit down and write 20 questions for that exam. So you knew those 20 things better than because you had to write it and come up with wrong answers to know which ones the right ones were. So that's a really interesting way of doing it, is find a study buddy. And this was literally, we called it a study group, but find a study buddy, find someone who's going through the same thing with you. Certification exams are not easy to do all alone. Find that study buddy, find someone that says, hey, do you want to write exams for each other? It doesn't sound fun, trust me. But what it does do is really improve your capability to understand what are right answers and what are wrong answers, so that you on the components you're talking about. It might be 20 questions in AWS's case, EC2, or in Azure's case, the API management service. In both cases, it's really important to know those depending on what your certification is. But if you know how to answer and you ask 20 questions around this for someone else to answer, you have to know it so well that you can write wrong answers and right answers, and they understand it. It aligns with med school to a certain extent, and you'll hear me say it all the time. It's, you see it done once, you do it once, and then you teach someone else to do it. It's a see one, do one, teach one methodology. That actually starts to factor into training and certifications and studying and everything else as well. So
earlier you mentioned, writing things down. Is that something also you check when you come in? Is that you can have some paper?
Oh, yes, always. I make sure I write everything I can down. In fact, the proctor at the place right down the road here, I walk in, he gives me 2. I don't know if he's supposed to give me 2, because it's like it's a dry erase material and a erasable marker. He gives me 2 because I write down so much, and he gives me these little alcohol wipes that I wipe everything off with. But I do that because it allows me to say, okay, here's option 46 says I should do this, but if I do option 46, that means requirement 1 is met. Sorry, no, not going to do that one. And start to trace through all of these different things and these different steps as needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the AZ 300 and 301 exam, I forget which one, there is a lab practical, where you actually go into the Azure portal and you do a collection of things. I tell people all the time, read through the entire lab. Don't start working on question A in, question 32, lab practical section A. Don't do A without looking through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, because you'll find out in H that if you do something differently that does meet the criteria of A, you can't do H. So you then have to roll back everything so that you can do it again. That's time management.
Mm-hmm.
Read the questions, find out what you're looking for, and then from that point, go and do the certification, or go and and begin the work on it.
Thank you for watching Stratum's Cloud Interrupted. If you like what you see, please subscribe, like, and share this video.